Hey everyone, in this video I wanted to show you an amp I repaired. I didn't use the camera too much during the repair, but I've got some photos that we can look at too to see what issues were going on. So this amp is a Friedman Runt. It's a 50-watt amplifier, all tube. It's owned by the guitarist Colin Cook. If you don't know Colin, be sure to check him out. He's a really killer guitar player. So yeah, he bought this used from a Guitar Center, so we don't know much about the original owner. But we do know it's had an issue of persistent hum, and when you use the dirty channel, that gain pot, anytime it's past like 2 o'clock, it's just totally unusable. It starts to self-oscillate and squeal. So what I'll show you first are those two issues, the hum and the gain pot, and then we'll get into some just static photos of what to look for and then what it looked like after I repaired it. So right away we can hear the hum. So in that video, there was no guitar plugged into the amplifier. Some amps will have that input shorted to ground just to keep things dead quiet. Others will leave it open. This amp, I think, shorts to ground. It's got the cliff jack in there. But what we're essentially demonstrating is that there's no cable, there's no guitar, so all of that noise and interference is out of the equation. And for both channels, we hear that 60 cycle hum. And then when we switch to the dirty channel, we can get that self-oscillation squeal when the gain is too high. So I consider those kind of two separate issues, and those are the things that I'm going to be looking for when I open up the amp. You know, how can I fix the hum? How can I fix that gain pot issue? So when we first open up the amp, this is essentially what I see, and right away I can see the issue for the hum. So for someone that might be, just starting out, this might be a little daunting. Like, how do you already know where the issue is? When we're talking about 60 cycle hum, we're typically looking in the areas where the voltages get filtered. So in this case, there could be filtering for DC heaters. There could be filtering for the high voltage or the B+ supply. And anytime we need to do sort of heavy duty filtering, there's typically a big aluminum electrolytic capacitor in there. So these 5 blue caps, 1, 2 on the left and then 3 on the right, those are the main filtering capacitors. They could be in different parts of the circuit, but they're all sort of doing the same thing. They're trying to smooth out any AC ripple that could be coming from the original power transformer. They're trying to smooth that out so that they can supply the respective nodes of the circuit. Right away, just from an aerial shot like this, I can already see corrosion on the 2 left capacitors, at least on one of their leads there. So because there's electrolyte in these capacitors, right, there's actually some type of chemical material in there that over time can dry out. In this case, it's leaking out, it's corroding out, and it's definitely not performing the way it was intended to. So what's interesting is an amp this old, right, it probably came out in, I don't know, 2017, 2018. It shouldn't have this issue, right? These caps should be good to go, and they should only need replaced every 20, 30 years. So the fact that it's having this issue already, where 2 of the caps are visibly corroded, and there could be more not shown in this photo, it could be a bad batch of capacitors, or it could be the previous owner put it in an environment or an operating condition that just totally wrecked this filtering. But my initial guess is this is where the hum is coming from. So I can show you some close-up photos to really see that corrosion there on that lead. That's not normal, right? If we look around the rest of the board, everything else looks pretty much factory. Most of the soldering's done on the underside of the board, so I know that these caps weren't changed previously. I'm pretty sure they're the original caps. You can also tell based on the the silicone adhesion at the bottom there. So those are definitely, they're failed. I'm not even going to test them. So what I do is I take the whole board out. In this case, it is a PCB. You got to take out all the quick connect cables to get to the underside to properly desolder and take those caps out. And then I replaced all 5 of those electrolytic capacitors with brand new F&T caps, same value, 47 microfarads, 500 volts. So instead of the blue, we now have all the black caps in there. That totally resolved the hum issue. The amp was now dead quiet. You just have the normal amounts of tube hiss when you're on the dirty channel. And then to fix the gain pot squeal, that one I actually used my tube checker, and I found out that 1 or 2 of those JJ preamp tubes, the 12AX7s, they were going bad, and they were essentially causing that high pitch oscillation. So I swapped those out, put in some tubes that I generally prefer in those high gain positions. The Chinese made Shugwan ones are nice in the high gain positions. You get a little bit of extra crunch. But then for the clean channel, I opted for a Sovtek LPS, which is the long plate version. That one just has better noise rejection, I find, for clean circuits. So with those tubes swapped and everything else checked out, we resolved the hum issue and the gain pot squeal. Unfortunately, I didn't take a video afterwards to prove it to you guys, but yeah, Colin already picked up the amp, happy customer, and now he can use it again. So thanks for watching.